One of the great things about doing this channel is that even though I'm a teacher, and that's my full-time job, I also learn a lot. You learn a lot when you teach, and I'm certainly learning a lot on this channel. So even though I might teach you about some things you don't know, my main hope is that you sort of learn with me. Because I'm somebody who didn't pay attention to rap music basically between 2004 and 2018. Like, you know, vaguely I kept up with Kanye and some Kanye associated artists, Jay-Z, all that, but really I just kind of tuned out. So as I came back to the art, as I got young again when I turned 41 and did this channel, I feel like I can maybe bring a fresh perspective, especially with something like Mixtape Pluto by Future. Because I never thought about Future. I mean, I knew who he was, I was vaguely aware of him, my students liked him, but what, he has 9 albums, 17 mixtapes, and the first thing I ever took a real listen to was I Never Liked You. And that means I've only reviewed a handful of projects, which means I'm able to approach his work with a freshness that perhaps you are not. Just as being, I am assuming that you maybe grew up with Future or you've been paying attention and you remember when all these things happened. So I'm happy to report that on this album, Future sounds sick. He sounds tired, but he also sounds a little more interesting than you think. Thank you for auditing the Always Positive New Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who's recording outside again, but this time it's the afternoon. I'm getting tired of waking up at 6 a.m. I got my Fauci ouchie, so I'm a little bit out, but it's good. You know, it's good if I'm a little bit out of it, if I feel a little feverish, feel a little bit sluggish, because that's really how this album is. So what I want to do to frame this album is give you one of the lines, or a couple of the lines, from the final track on the album. The final verse, as a matter of fact. Walk outside the bank, look like a robbery now. Ay, say, 5,000 a pint. I'm about to drink 5,000. $1 million whips and then some public housing. I changed the flow up, I got different styles. That's basically the entire album in a nutshell. He raps a lot about having money. Okay, fine. He seems to be, I don't know. So I know RX Nephew has this whole theory. Rap's next superstar, RX Nephew, has this whole theory about like, Future never actually does drugs. I don't know. I don't know if you could facsimilate drug usage as well as this album does. So I got the sense that he had maybe sort of gotten clean and maybe now he's recidivating. I don't know what it is, but this album is super dranky, okay? Very, very purpley feeling, very promethazine-ish. Okay? And that's implied in the 5,000 a pint, I'm about to drink 5,000. And that's like an expression of wealth, but it's also an expression of desperation and sadness. Can you imagine being addicted to something that costs $5,000? It doesn't matter how rich you are. That hurts. That hurts. $5,000 to drink a pint of drink. That is really sad. And this whole album, it does that thing, which I don't know. I don't know if he was the one who pioneered it, but just this very sad flossing. $1 million whips and then some public housing. So he's talking about where he goes from you know, this ridiculous wealth to going back to his roots. And then I can change the flow up. I got different styles. And that's the thing about this album. Maybe you, who have been listening to Future for the past 15, 20 years, I don't know how long, maybe you're like, all right, I've heard this all before, because the album does sound kind of samey. It is. There's one time where 2 songs merge together and you're like, those are 2 different songs? That wasn't just the same song twice? But if you actually listen, if you put that old attentive ear, remember in kindergarten? Okay, kids, put your listening ears on. If you, jeez, I regret that. I'm sorry. That was lame. That was lame. If you put your listening ears on, I'm doubling down. If you put your listening ears on, you'll actually hear, like he says, he can change the flow up, he's got different styles. And then beyond that, the beats are really good on this album. Sort of. Let me do some caveating here. If it weren't for the drums, this album has this weird thing where it has this great atmosphere, this really ethereal, much like the cover, which I'll talk about in a second, has this weird sort of like the cover of The Exorcist added like feel, a sort of morbid, dark, foggy feel. And then there's just these trap drums which just neutralize everything. So you'll have something interesting happening and It's just like Jesus, just Jesus. I have an idea, okay? You ready? Industry people, none of you watch me. That's okay. Industry people, people who know people in the industry. Listen to Professor Skye, okay? I'm giving you this idea for free. Future takes this album, gives the stems to another producer, and says, you can do whatever the hell you want with the drums. Tell me, if you gave this album and $5 million to JPEG Mafia, just said, do whatever you want with the drums on this, I think this would be one of the best albums of the year. Just an absolute killer album, because there's so many interesting things that I am actually, at times, quite tempted to bring out my almost famous avant-garde-ometer for rap beats. There really are some interesting moments on here, especially when you pay attention to what Future's doing. Even though he sounds just completely blitzed and out of it, he is innovating, he is creating a lot of interesting flows. There'll be times where when you focus on it and you pay attention to what he's doing, you're like, God damn, he just changed his flow 3 times in one verse. So anyways, that's my idea, okay? Let's have trap music where you just have the version with just the same goddamn trap drums over and over and over and over again, and then you just let other people play with it. And then you can monetize it, right? Then you can have people listen to that other version. Because it's not that the trap sound is dead, it's just that those drums flatten everything. Do you agree? Do you agree that drums flatten everything? It was also released, I don't know if this was on purpose, but the 9-year anniversary of What a Time to Be Alive, the album by Future and Drake. So I don't know, there's a song on here that people say is a shot at Drake. It is interesting because earlier this year he did the entire album produced by Metro Boomin, and then this album is largely produced by Southside, who are the 2 main producers on What a Time to Be Alive, Metro and Southside. I don't know if that's on purpose. I did want to talk about the cover again because it's actually a picture of the dungeon. So if you don't know the dungeon, I should say, so like, why do I even feel so bold to talk about Future? After I did my first review of Future, I asked you, my viewers, what do I need to listen to? And everyone just said Dirty Sprite 2. And I listened to Dirty Sprite 2, and I was like, okay, I get it. Like, whatever this kind of dark, dank, weird, just, feeling that you get from listening to this music, I understood. But then also I teach my class on hip-hop, and I do an entire lesson, entire day, dedicated to Future. So I read Rap Capital by Joe Coscarelli, the book about Atlanta rap. I know the whole history of Atlanta rap. Not the whole history. I read about the history of Atlanta rap. I am still, of course, quite a tourist. As Justin Hunt will remind us, I am not in the position to properly contextualize anything I'm listening to when I'm talking about rap music, because I'm a tourist, not a resident. I'm going to make a video about that relatively soon. But the on the cover is the dungeon, which is the place where Rico Wade created an incubator, where Atlanta rap really came from, where Outkast worked, and where he was able to shelter his young cousin. Rico Wade was able to shelter his young cousin, Future. And that's this beautiful image because Rico Wade died. It's very sad. And so we have this sort of testament, this monument to who he was, but with this purple light just pervading throughout the windows. And I assume that everything purple is referencing, Dirty Sprite is referencing drink. I don't know. So I really enjoy that cover. I do wish, yes, I wish the album directly related to Rico Wade, unless it does. Unless, like, there's things about Rico Wade's death that I don't know, that he's referencing here. That's possible. I mean, I'm not going to go on, like, Rico Wade, TMZ. I'm not going to figure out why he died. I don't know, but... Anyways, if the world were a just place, there would be a stamp with Rico Wade's face on it. That's how important he is. That's what he contributed to American culture, to world culture, okay? All right. Another thing I want to say about this album, there's no features. It's awesome. Sometimes a song will just be like a minute. It'll be like a little songlet. Just be like, and then the next song. Cool. We don't need features. We're all good. So I'm going to give you my stamp. Okay. Listen, everybody. If you like what you see, smash the like button, subscribe. AVAA stands for awesome videos always. If you listen to the song Plutoski, and you don't think this song is not absolutely an avant-garde frickin' masterpiece, I don't know what to tell you. It's only because I would imagine that you don't associate Southside and Wheezy as avant-garde producers, or you don't associate Future with avant-garde rapping. But this song is absolutely nuts. It is completely bonkers, and we need to appreciate it. This is that outside perspective I'm trying to bring you to help maybe shine more light on a project that maybe would just flow by you. Sorry, my daughter and my 2-year-old are waving at me. Hi. It starts off with the James Brown yell from the beginning of I Feel Good. Wow! Right? You know that beginning. And then these ominous trap strings are played, and then I think there's some sampled strings in the back. Okay? But the strings on this album, anything that's not the bass and the drums on this album is way behind the willow tree, okay? It's just so far back there. And his voice comes in. What the hell is he saying? 1,001 grams on my chain. I'm getting my crunch. Change going on the country street. We gangsta shit you could be from. That's the most clear that he gets on this album. He references sipping on dope again. I think that's what this song is about. I think it's about going there. And then we just get this insanity of this, of this verse. The verse itself, I've just been tagging him in, right? And this is all through Lyric Genius. I cannot make out these lyrics. I really can't. I've just been tagging him in, riding with Satan again. Interesting, tying in with the demonic imagery. Everything's all connected, right? So there's all this demonic imagery from Playboi Carti, demonic imagery from Future, and then the crazy sort of interesting Christian rap revival from Lecrae and D1 and Kendrick. There really is like a battle for the soul. And by the way, to put this in that larger context of the party being over, this right here is not the party. This is Future making music of and for his culture, right? So this is not the party of selling out and just trying to make money, okay? It doesn't matter if he's rapping about money. This is not one of the things that has to die in order for rap to be healthy, right? I throw a magazine in, streets turn a boy to a man, we going dark, it's nasty, use the little blogs to gas me. And this faraway sound, and then we lead up to what may be the most revolutionary piece of music this year. And I'm including the entire JPEG Mafia album, okay? This chorus is completely unintelligible. Now listen, I understand, I know that Kanye did a lot of temp tracks where he would throw on some here and there. That's not quite the same thing. That's revolutionary of its own kind. But you tell me, okay, please. This is still just the hobby I picked up in the lobby. I missed a lot of rap music between 2004 and 2018. When else has a rapper had a chorus or a verse that is completely unintelligible? This is what he says. I'm sorry again, I'm blessed, I'm flipping, over and over again. I'm blessed, what the fuck? That lives on Earth with us. What did they do to us? What is this chorus? This is the craziest thing. Have you heard this? And listen to it. Listen to it. Listen to it. Listen to it again. Listen to it again. It will get stuck into your brain like an RFK brainworm. You'll just be sitting in there. And my wife will ask me, she'll be like, hey, why don't you cut up a banana, for the baby? And I'll be like, yeah, okay. I just tag everything with, you can't make a single word of what he's saying. This whole sense of being on the drink again, sipping dope again, and just being so lost and in mourning, and just, it's wild. Speaking of my wife, I was listening to this song, and she said, this is her quote, "This might be the most annoying music I've ever heard. It is astounding." So, my wife is Serbian, so Yugoslavian, but from the part that's now called Serbia. So, she didn't grow up with rap music. She's learned to really appreciate rap music through me, but she has her limits. And it turns out her limits are She also wanted me to point out that I'm a hypocrite because, you know, I have a 2-year-old, and the thing that she does that bothers me the most, she calls me Poppy, right? My kids call me Poppy instead of Dad. And she just does this thing where when she just gets kind of bored, she'll be sitting on the couch and she'll just go, Poppy, Poppy. And she's doing the future verse. Okay, I'm gonna go through the album a little bit quicker here, but seriously, if you've not heard this song, Pluto, it really, I mean, what else do you want from a weird ass rap song? Opening track is Teflon Don. Okay, so it bothers me because it uses a sample from The Godfather, the Nino Rota soundtrack, which is cool, but then if you're calling it Teflon Don, like John Gotti is not The Godfather. John Gotti is like Goodfellas. Like he's that kind of gangster, or Sopranos or whatever. He's not it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It's interesting because it holds on this voice, and it makes me realize that London on the Track song, Red Rum by 21 Savage, might be influencing the zeitgeist, might be influencing all these producers, which might lead to, praise God, better trap beats, more interesting trap beats, because that's an interesting sound to have in the background. The ha, it's really, really nice. And it starts off with yeah, which makes you think this album's going to be all full of energy, as opposed to just the one big, oh, yeah. I beat the first gauge just like Gotti. Hey, John Gotti died in prison after spending 10 years in jail. So he's not as Teflon as he thinks. Some people named Don, you know, some Dons get caught in due time. Weird distortion in the background. His voice is super clear. And this is what I'm talking about. He does some interesting stuff. He has this whole thing. It just sounds like standard future. And then he's saying, took a hoe on a stroll out in Tennessee. I got control and emotion I've been beneath. I really crunk up the shit talking V-nee-nee. All my B-words be turned to chanini. I got my stripes off the turf, ain't no kidding me. I got my ice out the dirt and shit in me. This whole thing. Man, there's a video game called Dark Castle. And these really annoying bats. They went, it's like, so what's he doing? This is some avant-garde pushing of the barriers of what is intelligible as words and music. Little Demon is the next song, more of that satanic stuff. Weird metallic sound, like a slow alarm. What's great about this album, especially the first 4 tracks, I really love the first 4 tracks, is you got multiple voices, but it's just him. Like Little Demon in the cut, fuck you mean. Go raiding in the church, shit I'm seeing. Like I love the way he plays off of himself. And then at the end, he has a different flow from the rest. The, yeah, I got money. Yeah, I'm having. Yeah, I get money. And it's the real question. Can you age? Can Future age? Are we going to let Future be 60 making music like this? I hope so. Next track is called Skye, again by Southside. Outstanding. Outstanding. This song is outstanding. I don't blame you if you don't pick that up on the first listen. But if you go back, I swear, if you listen to this song again a couple more times, I really think you'll start to get into it. This weird slight singing to start, but no auto-tune, 70s swirly guitar notes, these multiple voices where he weaves into himself. Like you could break down this one line. I polluted in my cup, ain't no love for no slut. B-word, you know I'm a Don, knock it down in your trap. Like he has this whole way, I can't do justice to it, of like creating rhythms with his ad-libbing that is also himself. So he's rapping and then he's interrupting himself. So how is he doing this? This is like in that movies when they film the same person as a twin talking to themselves. I don't know how he does it, but there's a lot of great rhythmic things happening in between the voices. But again, you're just so used to the goddamn trap drums, you just think it's all the same. I love it, the ending. I'm going berserk Skye. It's funny because I have a friend named Dave who calls me Skye because it's like Skye. So I started calling him Dave Skye, and now when we call each other, we just say, hey Skye, what's up Skye? And then whenever we think that someone would like something, we say, this is very Skye. So I think of him all the time in this album. Ready to Cook Up is another pretty weird beat. Pretty weird beat on this. Ready to Cook Up, produced by Wheezy. Just like really tired. Ominous synth, this weird blown out synth sounds. It really, if it weren't for the drums, but it's fine. Great background sounds, just tired and sloppy. It's just all about the cough syrup. It's also kind of a lullaby. I got switches on these glees. I feel safe here. What's he talking about? As I say, listen. Okay, I'm embarrassed. I wrote in my notes, listen to this 5 times and tell me it's not dope. Can you feel cringe for yourself from 5 minutes ago? Then we get to the song Plutoski, which I already discussed, and then we get to Too Fast. Too Fast is the single, it's the worst track on the album. It's fine, but it's trying to be more pop, it's still trying to be a little more upbeat, but the lyrics are more boring. Bought the paddock, I was too fast, bought the Gelandelwagen, and I was moving too fast. It's fine, but it's like this whole album is so, this whole mixtape, I understand it's a mixtape. By the way, this is my new thing, I love mixtapes, because I think rap artists are getting too up in their head about albums, and they just release music. Right? So like albums can just get too stuffed and too like pompous and too just up in their heads. So I'm all for mixtapes. That's what I learned from that Doechii mixtape. Like that Doechii mixtape and that Denzel Curry mixtape are like 2 of the best albums of the year. But fortunately after that song we get Ocean, which is great. Seagull sounds and swirling synths. Just independent arpeggiated notes on the synthesizer, plus bass notes, plus sweeping synths. I have no idea what he said. Turns out he said something about oceans filling the tears. Got a cousin I ain't seen in years. When we came up, sleeping on the same bed. My main dog maxed in the Fed. Keep my little names off warfare. I'm not really sure what he said. He seems to be talking about authentic pain, about people in his life who he's losing. Again, it's weird that his cousin died, and he's not mentioning his cousin who died, but what do I know? And he breaks everything up with a different flow again in the song. When he says, done ran up a check, done bought me a cake, now I can go buy a case now. Like when he says this, it changes up entirely. So he's just doing a lot of different flows here. Same thing later. He has this beautiful flow on the avenue yelling out 354-ish, kick in your door-ish. I was serving my auntie when she was a dope head just to go cop Dolce. And my shirt button open when I do this. I'm focused. You can feel my emotion. Because when I was the brokest, like if you actually just read his lyrics and sort of think about them individually as words and take away the kind of slurring cool that he has, it's really quite interesting. What I like about this, especially now that I'm thinking about it, where he raps dopehead, dolce, emotions, chosen, brokest. Implied in that is the title of the song Oceans, which he doesn't actually use there. So he's like implying a word that he's not saying. And I know, you think, he can't do that, he's Future. He's just zonked out on promethazine. He's also a great artist. Next track is called Press the Button. It's a cover of the Chemical Brothers song. I get one joke. Super simple beat, angry flow. If this is the one that's against Drake, I don't know. Jeez. I sort of don't even care anymore. It's like, do we even care about Drake anymore? I guess we do. I really like this line though. Ain't chopping it up with a goofy. Okay, that sounds like that's targeted at Drake. Weird kind of petty stuff. He calls himself Mick Jagger. And he says, you must have forgot who had her before you had her. Pluto had her. There's no need to go through the data. My new B word is batter. So like maybe this is like the source of the thing that Drake stole as well. I don't know what it is, man. All these people, like all these rappers who talk about women like this, like about who had who first, and it's just they all have like so many partners. It's just like, who even cares, really? You know, and then, anyway. I'm sorry, could I sound more square? They've had so many partners together. The next track is MJ. I don't know if that stands for Michael Jackson or Mick Jagger from the previous song. Kind of a filler song, super repeated and dour. It's super sleepy. It's all like this sex track about being with multiple women. Also makes multiple references to monkey juice. I don't know what that is. I looked it up. I looked it up on Urban Dictionary. I don't have a convincing answer. Feel free to tell me. He also has the line, my B word got more B words than me. I don't understand the math, because then wouldn't those B words be his B words too? Or is there not like a transitive property of like B word possess? I don't know. Next track is Brazier, a little bit more upbeat, but still ominous with these strings. I just wish they could crank those strings up a bit. Make it way up. You know, just, I don't know. I like how he screws up and they leave in his screw up in the verse. I take sticks with me, I take killers where I go. It has this real, authentically raw feel. And how cool is it that like a super multi-gajillionaire can make such a raw album? Then we get to the song South of France. This is the one that led in from the last one. I wish it didn't. Just so you know, there's lots of parts of the South of France that are not Nice. Or nice, for that matter. You know, there's like real, you know, you got like parts of a city like Toulon, or definitely Marseille, where, you know, I studied. where I lived. Actually, I didn't study there. I lived there. You know, there's like real culture there. There's like real rap scene, all that stuff. So south of France, anyways. That would be like saying like West Coast and thinking that when you talk about the West Coast, you're only talking about Santa Barbara and okay, you get the point. But it's fine. It's interesting how he says south of France, just drinking mud. No matter how rich I get, I still feel like a hood. And that's cool, right? Because he's just talking about that no matter how far he goes, he still feels back here, which echoes with the themes of the entire album, which seem to be about that. Surfing a Tsunami is kind of an interesting rising beat that has this crescendo. Again, this is another Wheezy beat, you know, where it's a bit odd. It is a bit odd. Keep my head up to the sky because they're going to think I'm depressed. Depressed. I'm really depressed because my lawyer didn't go buy a yacht. Tell me you're depressed without saying you're depressed. Explain that you're depressed because someone didn't buy a yacht. Someone's smoking cigarettes. I have a neighbor who's like sneaking cigarettes. I wonder which one it is. Man, it's rough. Oh no. I wonder if you can... My daughter is dancing around a hot to-go in the kitchen. If that comes through and I get copyright struck on this, I'll be very grumpy. There's an interesting kind of interlude on here where Future is just kind of talking just as a way for have another chorus. Next track is Made My Hoe Faint. Pretty wild beat again, these stabs at the end of the phrase. This bass comes in and changes nature. For some reason, this reminded me of the band Houdini, so I started listening to Houdini, and then I got lost, and then I became an old guy who was like, why don't they make rap like Houdini anymore? And then I went back to Future. It's okay, old man. We can have everything, right? You can go back and listen to Friends. How many of us have them? We can listen to that, and also listen to songs like Told My, again by Wheezy, most, like, very interesting. It just kind of phases out, but it's all this, like, remorse that's in here. I woke up this morning, I was higher than Jesus. There's a sample in here from Koopsta. I'm not comfortable saying Koopsta's last name, but Koopsta from 3 6 Mafia, who also was sampled on Fuck Some from the Vultures album, but then he really, I believe, got super litigious with Kanye. So I don't know, did Future get this cleared or not? It's an interesting idea. It's really sad. Did you know 3 members of 3 6 Mafia are dead? Because there have been a lot of members over the years. It's really sad. The next track is Oath. It's fine. It's sort of an anonymous beat. I just bought a B word with another B word and they French kiss. This is the most direct sort of claim of this being kind of like just straight up prostitution, right? Like there's always this kind of implied prostitution of like, if I buy you a bag, then you'll give me head, that kind of thing. But here he's just like saying that he's buying women. I don't know. I'm a misfit. I ain't going nowhere without my biscuit. I know biscuit means gun, but I also just happen to really like biscuits. You ever go to Roy Rogers? God damn, Roy Rogers has good biscuits. Man, I can go for, you know, like I'll go to like any fried chicken place. I don't mind fried chicken, but fried chicken places always have the best biscuits, you know? So anyways, I just would like to go to some place and get a biscuit and just say this line. Then we get to Lost My Dog, produced by ATL Jacob, which has no drums to start, which is really cool. And this is a weird song because it's all about losing his friend to fentanyl. And it's like, for somebody who has like promoted drug usage so much, who's done so much for the prescription drug abuse industry, which is, you know, connected to the fentanyl crisis, certainly, with people getting addicted to opioids and then ending up taking fentanyl by mistake. But still, I do like the remorse in here. Looking at his text, he was battling with depression. I should have seen the signs as I received the message. Drugs in my body, I still cry for you. May I say that's the most interesting, heartbreaking line in this whole song? Drugs in my body, I still cry for you. I'm sorry, RX, I think he does do drugs because it's like he's trying to like, I mean, whatever. I've been like truly like super drunk maybe 5 or 6 times in my life. And like, you know that thing where you just want to tell somebody that you love them, but like you're drunk, but you're like, it's not because I'm drunk. It's not. I just feel this way. I just really, really feel this way. You know that annoying thing that happens? Like, that's what this feels like. Like he's like mad at himself because he wants to be believed, but he still cries for them. Man, this album is interesting, okay? don't let the fact that it's got an anonymous title and a lot of the songs can seem kind of whatever. Discussing why he takes the pills to self-medicate for all the killing that he does, start to take advantage of these pills when he drill. I want to tell him stop, but they help it when he kills. The album ends with Say Gang. Another wheezy beat, just really head nod bass, and the hi-hats are just struggling to catch up. And it's back to that sleepy tone that started off the whole album. So like, my favorite parts of this album are the sleepiest bits, or the furthest out bits, or that Plutoski thing. And I just, feel free to tell me in the comments, oh, this just sounds like something else that Future did, but it does not sound like the other stuff that I've reviewed. And I'm super happy to have reviewed it. These are my Patreons. I had to do a new Patreon sheet because I started doing this thing where I do like a vlog on Fridays. And I talked a little bit about the whole what's the dirt question on my Patreon. I don't want that to be like public because I don't think my voice is the voice that's needed right now. So some people joined because of that. But this is just nuts. Look at all these Patreons. And I also give them a chance for a shout out. So Carl Joseph Black and Landon both wanted a shout out. So they got one for Future. Hey, were there any birds behind me? I didn't even check. All right, until next time. Oh, and also, this is my other new thing. I'm going to throw this over my shoulder without looking. And if I make it in, you have to clip this and tell everyone to subscribe to Professor Skye. Catch you on the flippity flip. You gotta do it now. You gotta tell everyone to subscribe to Professor Skye. I cannot believe I hit that shot. This is only the second time I've ever done that. Oh, PE, 1988, all that. God damn. That was awesome. So now you have to clip it. You have to clip that shot. Subscribe to Professor Skye's record review. All right. Man, I'm going to get so many more subscribers because of this. Man, that was great. It went in, right? There's the camera.